walls. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
The guys and gals of gun websites.
And that was a very short show. All right, welcome everybody to the Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern for about an hour each night. We'll talk about guns. We have hosts. We got Angelina jumping in from California. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
Down here in Tucson, and we have people watching the show, which are part of the conversation. Why can't I close out of here? Looks like there's 8 people watching over on the YouTube side. Of course, we're also simulcasting over at gunchannels.com. And talking about Dead Horses Guns over on the Instagram. Also, we're now over on the iTunes, so we appreciate everybody who does use iTunes that listens to the show over there. We encourage you to leave us some feedback. One of those things about iTunes, the more feedback you have, the more often the show is recommended when people are searching podcasts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they're talking about Dead Horses 9 over on the Gun Channel side there. Did you see that on Instagram?
I don't think that I did, but I haven't been on social media much today.
Because you're giving up social media? It's a thing of the past? You think it's a fad?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really dying out. So I don't think I'm going to put any more time towards that.
Probably an idea. So let's see what they're talking about with this 9. I guess they're talking about this here, this 9 pistol.
Oh, looks nice. I like that stock.
This stock on this rifle or this brace on this pistol?
The brace on the pistol.
Right, yeah, very nice. I don't think I like this grip, but what are you going to do?
Well,
that's what they're talking about over on Gun Channels, though. And this is what it looks like over on Gun Channels, and this is what it looks like when they talk about it. All right, so today is Monday. You know, I like to talk normally about behind-the-scenes stuff and kind of talk about the week. Like I said, we're on the iTunes again, so that gives us a little bit more incentive to straighten the show up. So I'm going to be working on the schedule in the next couple of days here. And the Monday show, I think we'll stick with the same format generally, and we'll kind of use this as the meta day of the week. Meta Mondays, get it? So we'll look back on ourselves. We'll look at the show and creating projects. We'll look at Minuteman University, and we'll look at the efforts over at Minuteman, and going forward with the Minuteman University project, which is the concept there is to create better Second Amendment advocates so that we all focus on our skills of getting our Second Amendment messages out there. As that project goes on over time, we'll focus on that on Mondays. And also the events. So we'll take a look at the calendars on Mondays as well. Today we had, for our behind-the-scenes topic, looking at the soundboard mixing type of stuff for audio. And I have almost no interest in that. I don't know, Angelina, is kind of interested you've gotten that?
Pretty much none, because it sounds like too much work.
Yeah, I just don't know about it, and I don't have a need for it. It was Al's idea, but he isn't even out there today. So what happens when somebody gives us an idea that isn't super hot or we're not hot on, and you're not even out there to talk about it? I guess we'll move along. So we do have a call out there for guest hosts if anyone wants to jump in and help chat about some of the behind the scenes stuff. If anybody has any questions, we can talk about how to get our projects up and off the ground and use the very strategy for them. We just had an RA show, so maybe people are gonna see what people did or have done, have some ideas or ideas for their show, see some gaps out there. It's one of the things about content that comes from the ground up. When you see a gap, you have an ability to provide something. You can go fill that gap. You can create content where no one else has, and you don't have to be the best or the fanciest or the most costly or any of that stuff. You can provide a service by just being there. Rick was talking about that a little bit this morning. I think a little bit frustrated because his channel isn't growing by leaps and bounds, but Dead Horse is out there on the gun channel side, and he's been chatting with this guy from Florida. I can't remember his name now, but he met him through Rick's chats. So these networks or these introductions and these collaborations that develop from our individual efforts might not be tremendous, but I think they're super important.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. I mean, like you said, you don't have to be the greatest one, but sometimes you're the only one.
Yeah. Or the one that matters. Somebody's out there looking for something or seeking out a question and you're the only one that addresses it, then yeah. Or you've got the right answer that they're looking for that solves the problem. I think that also we talked about that a little bit later, I think. Maybe it's in a match chat or someplace where these new platforms that are popping up, I guess this was just in the lobby earlier, but these platforms that are popping up are giving everybody an opportunity to get out there and be in the rise of the platform itself, the same way that people back in the day were some of the first channels on YouTube.
Well, I heard you say the other day, like, there's no Hitchcock 45s on GunTube. I mean, someone could be the new Hitchcock.
Right. I mean, I'm the Hitchcock 45 of GunTube.
Oh, okay.
I made a deal with Night Strike so that like my videos will get showed 3 times, like for 3 times more than everybody else's videos. But we're not supposed to talk about that. It's supposed to seem like everybody's got a fair shot.
Well, I guess you could be my new like fantasy grandpa then.
Oh, I didn't think about it that way. I'll have to be something cooler than that then.
Yeah. All right, well, moving on.
I'm reading the comments over there on the gun channel side, and they're talking about building guns still. That's the kind of thing they talk about on gun channels, I guess. Building guns.
That's kind of weird.
So I guess we're going to feature one of the members over on gun channels, and this lately, I guess it's more like intermittently now going forward, I guess, but we had been featuring people's channels. So some of the people that have been active over there, and today we're featuring Smeggy. Smeggy is one of the co-hosts of this show. He's a co-host of another show that's on one of the days of the week over there that nobody can remember. And he's also often the host of a thing called The Cave, which is, I guess I don't have to put the number sign on YouTube stuff because they don't break their own links. The Cave is sort of an open room that happens sometimes in the evenings. Lets people jump in there and chat about guns and whatnot. Anyway, has been around gun channels for a while, and he's active in the real life, interacting with people when there's gun channels meetups and whatnot. So in an effort to promote the members over on gun channels, as well as give acknowledgement to efforts, and to send links out to channels that are providing interesting content. We're featuring a member every day. That's Face Smeggy. Even though he didn't show up for the show.
Well, I mean,
there was a heated debate off air as whether or not Smeggy should still be the member of the day today.
Yep. I mean, I won't say what position that I was going for, but I will say I think it's a little rude when you receive a top honor and you don't show up for a handshake, like for an acceptance. So
not even like send a stand-in to like accept the award.
Well, he didn't even tune in by teleconference or whatever because he's shooting a movie or something. He just, we just hear nothing from him. So I don't know. Does he deserve it? I don't know. Well, anyway, so
that was a suspenseful dead air silence there.
It was.
All right. So
soundboard.
Soundboards.
What do you got with that?
Well, something else that's less boring. Because honestly, I don't know what to talk about with soundboards. I don't use one. I talk into my microphone, and I suspect.
Is it like if you would play songs or whatever, or intros, they would come through like as a good quality?
They would level, maybe. They would all be at the same like volume, I guess is the way to say it. But yeah, it would be like if you had a radio show and you had a microphone and you had a tape deck and you had an 8-track player and you had a record player and maybe somebody's going to come in and plug in a guitar right to an amp or something. So you're going to have all these different input sources, but you have one, plug going out to the transmitter and then the antenna. So you want everything going into that transmitter to be fairly consistent with its volume and its amplitude, basically, so that some things aren't really soft and some things aren't really loud. So people's speakers can be at a normal level and have a fairly consistent, hear the entire range of the conversation or the music or whatever.
Right.
It's a mixing board with that theory, except that instead of having like that physical thing and there is no transmitter, it's just your computer. And in our case, it would be like the stream going out to the internet, or the stream going into this Hangout. Thing is, you can't hook anything up to this Hangout like that. So you have to use a different type of transmitter or a different type of transmission, and that would be that open source software stuff, that OBS streaming software. So anyway, it gets pretty complicated. Now you have to have a different type of software to connect to the internet so that your sound software has something to connect to. And then you go get all your sources of audio, and then you run it into that sound mixer. But then you get, what do you do for people like this? So now you have to bring a Hangout into the mix, and what do you do for the different people in the Hangout? You have to start leveling them up. So,
well, it probably would just work on one person, right?
It would work for the whole chat as far as the mixer, but then inside the chat room, as the host of the chat room, you can go in and mix each person up. So I guess it's a way to get sound effects and to get eventually what we want to do at this show is have some interviews and stuff. So if that was a separate audio file, we'd be able to bring that audio file up into the show at a consistent level. But when I do the intro to the show or whatever, I hold my phone in my hand like I'm doing right now, and I open up this, the music thing on my phone that plays audio files, and I push this button.
Gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW.
Yeah, it just plays on my phone. So the disadvantage there is this. Right? If I'm making noises in the background, then you don't hear whatever I'm playing. So that would be, I guess, the advantage is I could pipe it through. You'd hear it crisp and clear, and I could mute myself over here, and you wouldn't hear us, picking our nose or poking our butt or whatever we do off air. I don't poke my butt.
I mean, I'm interested in knowing why Al's such a fan.
Why Al is such a fan of the board?
Uh-huh.
I think it's because he figured out how to use it. So a lot of times when people figure out how to use something, they think of it as being a tool that everybody needs to use. They figure out all kinds of uses for it.
Maybe.
Let's see. Drum is bigger than the hole on the thing. Right? Okay. All right, so they're being rude on the YouTube side. What do you know? And then got 18 people out there. 24 thumbs, though. That's interesting. You know why? Because I recycled this show. It was one of the shows that we didn't use last week. And I just we got a bunch of extra thumbs. Suckers. So we'll go around acting like we got 25 thumbs, even though there's only 19 people watching. And we'll move on. So that was... there, we talked about soundboards anyway, so Al won, even though it was a boring topic, and
he won the challenge.
Yeah. So I guess we can move on to the calendar here. So I'm going to open that up, and I'll close this out, and I'll screen share so we can be looking at the same thing. And we go to the main page of Gun Channels, and down on the left here. Once you scroll a little bit ways down, you'll get the upcoming events. If you want to add an event to Gun Channels, you can just go over to Events over here and click on Create New Event.
So can anyone add an event?
Exactly. So every once in a while, somebody will go, hey, can anybody add event? Here's the deal. People that are paying to be here, yeah. If you're just hanging out and like hanging out in the mall or whatever, not really buying anything, I don't know if that button's there, honestly. Whenever I set it up, I may or may not have toggled it on. Probably not, because who wants a bunch of people that ain't even keeping the place running, just filling it up with spam or whatever. So we don't get very much spam, any really. So whatever the system is, it's working. But anyway, if you're a member of Gun Channels, then click on create event, create an event there. We recommend doing it because two things. You got your human beings that are going to scroll along and see it over here. They're going to be aware of it. Maybe they'll go to the event. Maybe they know somebody in the area. Maybe somebody's going to be traveling and they can talk about it. But then the other side of it, the effort, is the underside of the internet, where all the little links and wires and connections are, all those tubes that make the internet work. And by connecting, for example, Knob Creek to this website, you've given that an interconnection. So for Knob Creek, probably doesn't matter. They've been doing that for many years. But for something like this Connecticut Citizens Defense League annual picnic, creating a valid connection between that event and Gun Channels, when when Google is asked what's going on in Connecticut in August by somebody, this connection, this gives this event a little bit more validity. And if that person who asked Google that question has any interest in guns, and they're anywhere near this area, then this connection that Cycle Camp put in here may influence Google's decision of what to put in front of that person. So by putting something in here to Gun Channels, you're not only making it nice for the people who might hang out on Gun Channels, but you're really enhancing these events. And that's something I try to explain every once in a while when we talk about this segment, because that's a big reason we built Gun Channels, is to provide an amplification and to these events that may not know they need it or may not have the ability. They can't pay for this, certainly. And it's a little bit of effort from a lot of people can go a long way. And hopefully we're all pulling in the same direction on Second Amendment stuff. So with that in mind, that's why we have this segment of the show every Monday. And for the people that are listening on the iTunes, we're over on gunchannels.com. And whenever you log in as a member, on the front page, scroll down about a third of the way, and you'll see an area there for upcoming events. And I think there's about 12 events listed. First one is this weekend. Knob Creek is coming up this weekend, and that's in Kentucky. Then we've got the Outdoor Retailer Show, which is in Salt Lake City, and that's a lot like SHOT Show or the NRA show. It's more like SHOT Show than the NRA show, but it's for sporting goods stores. So what?
Have you been
to Outdoor Retailer? Yeah, I didn't go to the July one. I went to the October one. It's a little bit different, and I think it's more like they just changed the sports. So the one I went to was more tents and sleeping bags and climbing boots and poles and compasses and stuff, and less water sports like kayaks and water skis and that kind of thing.
Right. And
then there's a winter one that's all skis and snowboards. I've never been to that one because that's not my thing.
So it's seasonal.
What?
It's seasonal.
I think there's at least 2 each year, and there might be 3 now because I'm not familiar with one being in July. So yeah, there might be 3 now. And it's in Salt Lake City, so any excuse to go up Salt Lake City I think is worth considering. It's a pretty cool place. Then you get the the Connecticut Citizens Defense League annual picnic coming up in August. So already we're way into July and August here. So you can see there's a big gap of stuff on the schedule. So if you do have stuff that is coming up between now and then, not only will it be on the schedule, not only will you be helping it out with that network of links and stuff, but that'll be all this time that at least we're going to be talking about it every Monday. Some of the other shows, I'm sure, will go in and pay attention to the events and get the information out there on their shows as well. So that's another advantage of having it over here. Then in September, we got the Bullpup Shoot that happens in Illinois. Actually, September 15th sounds like it's happening just before the Gun Rights Policy Conference. So Potentially somebody could go to that bullpup shoot and experience a bunch of different bullpup rifles and stuff, and then go to the Gun Rights Policy Conference the next weekend in Chicago, which is the 22nd, 21st, and 22nd, I guess. There's another Knob Creek each year. The one is happening this weekend, and then there's one happening in October, so that one's on the schedule as well. But again, that's half a year there, so we've got lots of events that could be added to this list. The National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers is very much like SHOT Show. It's just done at a different type of an industry level, so it's done by distributors, and I believe that one travels around. Never been to it, but that happens in October. And then you've got the Big Sandy, which is a lot like Knob Creek, only a little bit different, and that's also happens twice a year. The next one is in October. And then you get the outdoor retailer that I went to. That one looks like it's in November, and that's also in Salt Lake City. So we'll probably put some more stuff in there for the calendar, but if you're listening to this and you're a member of Gun Channels, then we encourage you to use the calendar, post stuff in there.
What's that poll about? I didn't know you could do polls on gun channels.
Oh, of course. So we had a one of the opening shows to this show is Matt, Never Enough Ammo. He's a good guy. He tries real hard. And he did a show where they did brackets. And at some point, the bracket got down to 8. And it was cartoons from the 80s. So this was before you were born. They used to have cartoons on television. And you didn't just go to the television like you go to the internet and decide what you want to watch and just watch it with no commercials. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, during the week, it was boring, and then on the weekends there was cartoons, and that was where the only time of the whole time your life you got to actually see a cartoon happen, and that would happen on weekends. And then eventually, for the lazy millennials, they started making cartoons for the afternoon, like after you got home from school. So that's what these are, mostly from the 80s after-school cartoons. And it got down to 8 of them: Transformers, Voltron, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, whatever Saturday Supercade is, G.I. Joe, Cops, Robotech, and Defenders of the Earth. And it looks like Transformers is spanking everybody. Although in the show...
I voted for Ninja Turtles.
You did? So have you ever seen any of these other shows?
Yeah. I've seen Transformers, G.I. Joe, Cops.
All right.
I used to watch my fair share of cartoons Saturday morning.
Well, it'll keep going. Like I say, the show, we voted for Robotech, and the audience is obviously voting for Transformers, but now TNT is up in the running. And now that we're talking about it, I'll see if anything's changed, and it has not. All right, so we'll quit screen sharing so I can read that comment from Hosh over here.
All right, well, who do we got here? Gun movie, Last Man Standing. Well, big surprise. I probably haven't seen it.
I believe this came in during one of the... It wasn't a cave. Let's not give Smaggy credit when he doesn't. He didn't earn that. This happened during one of Ellis's forays.
Oh, yes.
Fun channels. So this was a sloppy Ellis live stream that'll happen in the evenings, in the late nights. We should call it the seedy part of the night when there's nobody really awake anymore, except for you people. And then this one came up. So what was this? Last Man Standing. That's actually a good movie. You never seen it though, huh?
It doesn't sound familiar. What can you tell me about it?
I don't know. Do you know what Yogosabu? What is it? Yojimbo?
What?
You know what Yojimbo is?
No.
So it's not this TV show. It would have been the movie. Assuming we're talking about the movie and not the TV show. Let's see. So it's there. You know who? I don't know. Akira Kurosawa. Japanese director.
Nope.
Oh. So there's this movie called Yojimbo, which is pretty good. And that's about a samurai that comes into town or he's really a ronin, I guess, at this point. So he's a samurai without a lord. And he's like minding his business. And he walks into this town. And that's him right here. And he's minding his business. And he figures out
You're not screen sharing if you think you're screen sharing.
Oh, okay. So it's this right here. Right?
Okay.
So,
I've definitely not seen this.
oh, we need to see it because it's one of the best movies ever made, literally. So this guy walks into town, and there's a street, and on one side of the street is one bad guy, and on the other side of the street's another bad guy, and they're basically making the town's life miserable. And he comes into town, and he basically socially engineers the whole thing into running the bad guys out of town, and everybody lives happily ever after. And it's a cinematic masterpiece and everything because you can see by the filming and stuff, it's just freaking awesome. And it's made back in the black and white days, so before there was color.
Is this all about ninjas, or is it about cowboys too?
No, this is samurais, which are not ninjas, and ronins. So this guy's a ronin. And then they made Fistful of Dollars, which is a cowboy movie, which is the same movie, like scene for scene, except instead of being a ronin, he is
a cowboy?
Kind of. Not really cowboy because he doesn't work. He's just a dude back in the cowboy days. And he's not really a ronin, he's just some dude. So yeah, and then you also have Yojimbo, which is this cartoon from back in the olden days. But anyway, then you get this movie, Fistful of Dollars, and then eventually you get, what's the name of this movie? Last Man Standing?
Yes.
Movie. And then you get this movie with Bruce Willis being the Ronin, but he's not. And he doesn't use swords. He uses 1911s never run out of ammo.
Okay, so that's Bruce Willis.
Yeah, so it's basically the same movie, not filmed as well, but it's literally Yojimbo with 1911s. So it's pretty good. But then it's a movie made for this country, so of course they had to put a chick in it. No reason.
Oh, ruined it.
Yeah, there's no chick in the real one. But in this one, there's got to be. So aside from that garbage, then it's Yojimbo with 1911s. It could have been really good. But they tried to make it stupid, what is this, the 80s? 90s maybe? It's, they tried to make it in 96. They tried to make it a action movie. So I don't know. I think this was, Ellis was digging this movie, right?
I don't remember. That was a crazy night.
So Slim is saying Fistful was better. Cycle is saying he did Seven Samurai. He also did Seven Samurai. What do I mean by you people? You people. Little Pup Shoot. Okay. Unchannel's over here. All right, so nobody's saying anything. So yeah, so you've never seen this movie. I'll give it 1 and a partial, potentially better, depending on if it was in a subset of movies. If it's just a gun movie, I'll give Last Man Standing 1 thumb. If it's some subset of movies, then I could potentially give it more. As far as the 3 real movies, Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars, and this one, it's the least. So it's a good effort, and it's.
So we're saying 1 thumb.
1 thumb, potentially more if it was a smaller pool of movies. Like if it was just 1911 movies, maybe I'd give it more thumbs. But right now it's just all movies. It's just getting 1 thumb because I'm not gonna bring it up to the level of movies that get 2 thumbs, like Fistful of Dollars.
Okay.
You seen Fistful of Dollars?
No. I don't. Just it's pretty much safe to assume that I haven't seen anything.
We used to have Z on this show, and then Z's seen every movie. He knows how to talk about movies. And then we got Dano, who's seen like a movie every once in a while. And then we got Smeggy, who's never seen a movie before. And then we get you, and you've seen less movies than Smeggy somehow.
Yep.
So that's what happens. So if you want to join the show and be a host, you just have to have seen a couple of movies, I guess. And you're in.
I mean, I've only seen like Probably 5.
Movies ever?
Well, movies when they pop up here. There's probably been about 5 where I could say, yeah, I've seen that. So
Maybe-
that's pretty sad.
Maybe we'll just get rid of the gun movie part of the show, and then it would be less frustrating for everybody to have to not get much of an interest in the show. In fact, we are going to be flipping, since we're doing so many podcasts. There's a couple of movies in here from whatever that drunken night of movie ideas you came up with, these next ones that are in the list.
I wasn't drunk. I don't drink alcohol.
Well, all right. It was a drunken party.
I was the way that I always am.
But the chat was a drunken party, and that's where all these ideas for movies came from. And that's where we'll let them kind of run out. Then we jump over to podcasts. I've been over there looking at the podcast stuff on the iTunes, and was pretty impressed with some of them. For example, I don't have it in this list, I don't think, because it has nothing to do with guns. But as I was looking through the various podcasts that are out there, I found one that I thought Dead Horse would like. I told him about it the other night. But a guy, I think if I remember it now, the guy has like 2 6-year-old kids. I don't remember if they're twins or what, but anyway, the 6-year-old kids decide who they're going to talk to. And then the podcast is the kids kind of interviewing somebody. Just, they drive around or they meet somebody or something happens, just they're living their lives. Every once in a while, the kids will interview somebody, and that's the podcast. And it just sounded really interesting. And then based off of the number of comments and the number of likes or whatever that's on iTunes, this is a very popular podcast. So it sounds like that might be the kind of thing that I didn't think about, and I figure we're going to see the same kind of thing in the gun realm. So since we're getting back onto the iTunes platform again, I figure we'll take a look at some of the stuff out there and do some of those instead of gun movies for the next time, next couple of weeks, I guess.
It's a good idea. I actually saw that Spotify has podcasts now. Yeah, so because I'm going to be in the car a lot, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll listen to a couple.
Oh, crap. We should have thought about that. But yeah, what are you going to do in the vehicle when you're driving around? Talk to your driving companion or listen to stuff? Or how are you doing this?
I'll be doing, when I'm not driving, which I'll probably be driving most of the way, I don't know, just music, marketing. I have to keep a business kind of running. I don't know. Actually, I got to write a bunch of emails to like my overseas family that I have not returned in probably like a month. Yeah, just catching up on life, I guess. Texting back some people that I do this thing where when someone text messages me, I read it and then I just put my phone down.
So when you say your overseas family, is this the children that you bought that live in that family where all the stickers and stuff are made?
Yeah, that's where my my hired help, as I like to call them, it's really just, like those 10 cents a day. I throw
you
$5 out.
You hired them once.
Yeah, well, I just throw like $5 a month and then they do whatever I need.
But seriously, are you downloading a bunch of podcasts or are you just going to listen to the radio?
I do have a playlist going. So, we can jump over to my playlist and I can read you a couple titles. I found a podcast. I don't know. Oh, now I know how to get to it. It's called Stuff You Should Know by How Stuff Works. So, what really sucked me in was this title that was Who Killed JFK? Because I love a little bit of a conspiracy theory. Unabomber, What Happens to the Brain During an Orgasm? That wasn't one that sucked me in. I just read that one accidentally. When Words Take on New Meanings, How Guide Dogs Work. Stuff like that. They're like an hour long. So I thought, those might be interesting. And then I'm kind of working on a playlist, but I was super shitty at it, so there's only 325 songs, but I figure I could add more while I'm not driving.
There was
What?
There was this comedian, I don't remember, this was a long time ago, and we did a cross-country trip, and we only had one cassette tape. And he goes, but I can't remember the name of it. I thought that was hilarious, because you would have listened to that cassette tape like a billion times.
Right. Well, last time I was listening to XM radio, and it drove me fucking insane because it's basically just on a loop. And you start to realize it.
There's a billion channels, and the Dead Show isn't on a loop. You just listen to the Dead channel. I mean, it's on a 12-hour loop, but you can listen to the Dead channel like for a very long time, and you're listening to new stuff the whole time.
Yeah, but I can't like do the Dead the whole time. I gotta have like my
bad.
like. What?
That's too bad for you.
That's not too bad for me. I do a little bit of Dead, but I gotta have like, you know, it's like any good party and any good DJ knows you gotta plan the rise and the fall. So if I'm like, you know, jamming to fucking Sugar Magnolia, I'm not having like the best time. Well, I guess I am. But, you know, I gotta have my, like, dumb music, my shitty rap that I'm always listening to. I don't know, all the stuff. A little Van Morrison, a little Madonna's Immaculate Collection. We'll hear them all. I got a lot of driving to do.
So Cycle Camp is suggesting you listen to or check out Smarter Every Day on YouTube.
On the YouTube?
Yeah, he does similar stuff, like little experiments or little clever things with his fancy slow motion camera.
Oh.
So he started out renting a slow motion camera at a place, doing a couple of videos, and then posting them. And then I think everybody knows the story from there. He became one of the larger channels on YouTube. So just playing around and enjoying what he was doing with his creative creating videos. And then it sprung or went viral on him.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna check that out. Thanks, Cycle Camp. But yeah, I'll be in the car a lot. I'll be posting pictures and shit, probably, of dumb stuff.
Hadi is saying he's got playlist after playlist downloaded to his phone. But should you try XM? So XM costs money. I only have it because Smeggy gave me the radio. Remember Smeggy? He used to be one of the co-hosts.
I think I remember that guy, but I'm not sure.
So he gave me one of these satellite radio boxes, and then you basically stick an antenna on your car, and then you plug it into the thing, and you plug it into your cigarette lighter, and then it just talks to your antenna. So it's just like a radio station on your car. So you don't have to like plug it into.
Are you mansplaining XM radio to me?
So it's too hotty. And then so I'm just saying, you buy this thing and you add it to your car. You only have to barely wire it in, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And then what you've got is a 15. It depends on your level of service. It's like cable TV. You pay for some amount, $9 maybe, $7. I forget the basic model or level, and you get a certain amount of radio stations. And then the more you pay for, the more.
There's 3 levels, right?
I don't remember. There's quite a few, and then the top one is like all the stupid sports. So if you don't get sports, I had to get to the 17 for the station I wanted, and that is $17. So it costs $17, and then what I like about it is that there's dead spots out there, plenty of them in the middle of nowhere, where you don't get no radio. You don't even get like an option to listen to country. I don't mind country or Mexican channels or something. Like as long as there's music playing, it's okay. But there's places where there's nothing, literally nothing, just static. And that's where the satellite is awesome. Once you get into a town, though, unless you have it wired right into your radio, the local stations blow through it, and you basically are going to have to flip off of it and listen to local whenever you're near a big enough town. So that's XM in a nutshell. If it's worth the $17 a month.
That's mansplaining XM radio.
Every time I rent a car, it has XM radio, and it only has like 4 stations though, because it's like the car rental version. I don't know if that's free or what, but there's a lot of commercials on it. But they'll have like one talk show station, like one country station, one kind of like rock pop station, and then like maybe like one just like more rap station. That's it. Like you get 4 stations, and that's it.
My rental's got the whole. I think it's got the premium package because you can hear like everything.
And well, that's what I like. You can listen to, there's like 70s, 80s, 90s, that kind of thing. You can
80s
listen.
on 8 is my fucking jam, though.
You can
80s
listen,
on 8 and 90s on 9 is my shit.
and then you can get into the weird genres, and then you can get into specific bands that are big enough to have their own channels, and then you get into like talk. So you get NPR and a bunch of different right-wing talk stuff, and then there's a bunch of comedy stuff, and I don't even know about like weird opera and classical, but I know that's in there too somewhere. So
Is there any good talk shows or podcasts like Joe Rogan or Art Bell or like I don't know anything?
I never found Art Bell, and that's the problem with the talk part. Is that I have it on mine like the 7, 8, 9, or 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like Angelina's saying, those are really the best channels for most of the time because it's just, I don't know what the loop is, but it's like 12 hours or something. But the talk ones, I haven't discovered them. It's too difficult to navigate it while I'm driving. But let's say it's NPR. I don't know the NPR schedule, so for me, it's like I get sick of listening to music. I want to listen to some words or talking or whatever. I'll flip it to one of those word stations and listen, or just flip through the stations until I find something that's.
Or just flip it to something like Gun Channels and then listen to Gun Channels.
Honestly, that's just as better. But the thing I was going to tell Hadi is the difference between the XM and the phone is that it's not taxing your phone. So I did do the trip in 12 with both our navigation and our songs coming out of the phone. And it was just cooking that phone constantly. Like it always had to be plugged in. It was just a pain. If you got a phone call, everything shuts down for. It's just it's nice to take that off of your phone and put it on a dedicated device, especially if you got the free trial.
I also have an iPod with like 100 gigs of songs on it, so that's my like offline music.
But that's not your phone, so that's a separate.
Yeah, that's my like secondary device, I guess. But
and they probably have a thing to like hook that into the car directly, probably at this point, right? Or Bluetooth it or something.
It's an older iPod, so you just plug it straight in. But I use iPod in my car all the time. I don't really use Spotify in my car, but in this rental, it connects like straight to the head unit, and you can control it through the screen.
Well, it somehow turned from the Daily Gun Show into a van chat. But does the rental cars have internet in them already? Like, does it come with internet? Or
I haven't had any with internet.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. If it does have it, it's not super apparent.
Or in some cars like that, you gotta like rent the high-end SUV, right? Like you gotta like rent a Yukon or Cadillac SUV. So, like when you rent those, that's where you get the options of usually like, oh, do you want like digital satellite TV service so your kids can watch like cartoons like the whole time or whatever? And like I've seen options like that on the higher end vehicles, but usually I'm just getting like the shittiest little car they have, right? Just to get somewhere and back, usually when I'm doing a rental car.
I don't know where everybody was yesterday for the van chat, but all kinds of conversation going with that part of the show here. So I guess when we're talking about iTunes before, we can figure out how to get up onto XM and how to get into Spotify, perhaps, with our feeds.
I wonder if Spotify.
I think that would be cool as hell. Because YouTube, honestly, a lot of times I watch a shitload of YouTube when I'm on the road, but I'm not actually watching it. I'm just listening to it, right? So it doesn't matter what it is, what review, I'm just listening to it. So even something like that on XM radio or, on the satellite radio, I think would be really cool just to have that kind of stuff broadcasted, whether it's live shows or pre-recorded shows or, I don't know, like I don't know how you go about doing that, but putting like the Daily Gun Show up on XM radio, I think I think a lot of people would be tuning in for that. Because like people, driving across the country could go back to like old episodes of like Daily Gun Show, stuff like that. That's where I see XM radio being used, right?
Well, I'm thinking the iHeartRadio for that because exactly people are doing the commutes and stuff, and then if they're like, hey, they discover it, they can go, hey, I want to listen to all those old versions, and I'm assuming either navigate to them or download them all.
Well, that's what I like to do. It's like, I don't know, there's certain shows where I like, even if I'm super busy, I might go back 5 days later and listen to that last episode, right? But I try and keep up on them. And, you know, and, man, if you're taking a trip, going somewhere, well, man, that lets some people keep up on that, right? I don't know what the iHeartRadio is. I don't know what that is versus the XM. Is that like the same thing?
It's like a Pandora-ish, I guess.
Okay, Pandora is just an app, right? That lets you listen to music for free, but you got to listen to ads or something too.
Pandora's like a whole system.
But that's the free one, right? I think my kids use that, right?
Yeah, it's free or paid.
Yeah, you can pay to have the ads be less or fewer or none. I forget. It was, I think we had paid for a minute, and then they still put ads on after a while.
So how do you go about getting it? Like, do you got to pay to put a show on that, or is it like YouTube, where like you could just go get a channel and like?
Well, so you do something like this show that we're doing now on YouTube, and then when it's over, YouTube renders it into a video, and now it's a video sitting on YouTube. So we go to it and download the MP3 from it, and now we have an audio file, which is the show, right? And we put that up onto a streaming server, and now we have a feed, a URL basically, that points to a list of all of our shows and where they are on the internet. And then you can give that feed to iTunes, you can give that feed to Stitcher, and then assuming you do all the little details correctly, they feed you through, and now you're indexed in iTunes, you're indexed in Stitcher. So iHeartRadio is the same way. As far as I understand, there's a little bit more qualification to get onto iHeartRadio. So you have to have an audience that brings you into iHeartRadio. You can't just push yourself onto iHeartRadio. Like YouTube, you can just put yourself on YouTube, and whether or not an audience appreciates it, you still exist on YouTube. I think iHeartRadio has some kind of threshold where you have to be brought in. You have to be there has to be interest in your show being there, and that's why you see some of the people who have efforted to that platform. They'll put out on iTunes, they'll put out on YouTube, they'll put out on Instagram a call. Hey, find us on iHeartRadio and ask for us to be there. Click this link and ask for us to be on iHeartRadio. I think there's an advantage there because now a lot of people use that iHeartRadio to listen to their radio stations from where they used to live, or DJs that they like or something from some other city, and then you're on there with that. I think the other systems might have a similar thing where once your feed is available, you can try to pipe it in, and then whatever their threshold might be. I don't think you have to pay to be there, but there's probably some level of interest or level of traffic or some kind of threshold.
Previous amount of followers, like if you already have 100,000 subs on YouTube, then you could probably more likely to get in versus the guy that has 200, right?
Exactly. I haven't looked into it, but that's one of the things we'll be exploring, because I agree with you. I think it'd be great to have some of the efforts, because think about like Jimmy and all the time he put into early watch. And there's tons of people out there who probably appreciate listening to Tony and Jimmy talk for an hour about the news, even if it's older news.
Oh, I do.
Insight.
I sure do in the mornings. It's the best thing on in the mornings. It really is. It really fucking is. Even when you do it, it's still the best thing on compared to local news or any other like Rush Limbaugh crap going on. Like it really is like the best thing, because it keeps it keeps my interest, because the stuff you guys talk about is the stuff I'm actually interested in.
So iHeartRadio is all clear channel radio stations, and that's what they're saying out there. But again, there's a way to get on there, even if you're not a real radio show or a syndicated thing or something like that. But anyway, we're looking into that. And yeah, I know that there's ways to get your YouTube efforts up onto Amazon. I discovered that with Amazon Prime, digging into some of the stuff. If you get into like how to cook or how to do, I don't know, like how to do programming language, like you'll get into weird stuff on Amazon, like in the how-tos, and I ended up being in YouTube videos. Some of the weird comedy stuff will get into like YouTube videos, little skit channels and stuff. So there must be some way to get your series.
I've seen links to videos and Amazon reviews to go straight to the review on YouTube.
Oh no, but I mean like on Amazon Prime. I would be looking through Amazon Prime, and I'd be like in the comedy section, and I'd be looking at the more obscure and the more obscure, like the little 5-minute series. There's like 20 little videos in a series, and they're little funny things, but they're, and then it's like, wow, these are cheap. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is like basically a YouTube video. And it's not really a link to YouTube, but you can tell that someone just took their YouTube videos and got them on Amazon somehow. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is there must be ways on some of these platforms to apply and have your stuff put there. And then, I don't know, we'll work on that. All right, so that was, I don't know, kind of a van chat-ish thing. We had a van chat yesterday, talked a bit about, what the hell did we talk about yesterday? We had Pink on. Were you on there yesterday?
Yeah, we talked about Texas, going down the traveling.
Oh, yeah.
Different.
And we got Angelina's trip starting tomorrow, so
I'll be a distant memory from tomorrow.
Checking along the trip or no?
What?
We'll send you the link on the phone, so hopefully you'll check in as you're driving around. You won't be driving this late at night.
No, I shouldn't be driving this late at night, but I don't know what kind of adventures I'll be into, so we'll see.
With that, we'll dig into the gun shop of the day, and we don't have one, so we'll go to Deadpool's. Since you are our guest host, you get to talk about a gun shop that you like, or that you've been to, or that you wish you went to, or something.
Oh, okay, sweet. Let's see here. Gun shop. But I would say Gallinson's Guns and Ammo. It's in downtown Salt Lake City. It's in the heart of Salt Lake City.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, it's one of the. It's right on a 2nd South and about 2nd East. It like right around all the tall buildings. It's right across the street from like one of the main law enforcement buildings down there. It's one of the oldest gun shops in Salt Lake City. Really friendly staff. They always paint some really cool Pro 2A type murals out on the side of the buildings. Right there, so they could have like a huge picture of an AR-15 with an American flag waving, or just like really cool murals, and they change it up all the time. They have good prices, a good selection of guns, and they probably have one of the best selections of silencers. They get in a lot of obscure guns. So like if you're looking for a really rare gun, like a Colt Python that's never been shot, stuff like that. They kind of search. I think they kind of like pay attention and search, like, I don't know, gun brokers, stuff like that, invest in certain guns, and so they get in a lot of rare guns. I've just seen everything there. All sorts of guns from the 70s, 50s, 20s. It's just an all-around really good shop. I mean, if anyone's going through Salt Lake, that's probably one of the best ones to check out for sure. You said you've been there, G-Webs?
Yeah, I can. One of the reasons I'm doing the tour is because of this shop. It was such a cool shop, and we started. We went to that outdoor retailer we were talking about earlier on the calendar thing. Went to Salt Lake City for outdoor retailer, and we knew we didn't want to fly all the way up there for just that show and then leave, right? So I don't remember. I think we stayed for a few days before the show and then a few days after, which was a mistake because it's one of those, Salt Lake City is one of those towns that closes on Sunday. So we kind of wasted being there Sunday. But this was, I think, one of the shops. No, it wasn't open Sunday, but it was one of the shops we got to visit, and it was a surprise. Like you say, it's downtown. Doesn't do it justice looking at this picture because it's in the middle of all the high rises and stuff downtown. And you never expect walking in there that it's the kind of gun shop. I wish they had pictures of it in here. Floor to ceiling. You can tell it's been there forever. What does it say here? That in 1925, the tailor shop was turned into a gun store and pawn shop. In 1930, the shop moved across to where it is now, or I guess moved. And then in 1948, is where it's been since 1948. So the shop looks like it. There's just stuff everywhere. Did we buy anything? I don't remember buying anything. I guess whatever.
I buy a lot of powder and primers and reloading supplies from them because they always have stuff in stock. They get a lot of bulk ammo in stock. So if you want to buy like cases of any particular brand of ammo, and even stuff like 308, 30-06, 243, they actually get cases of that ammo in. So you can actually go there and get case deals on certain calibers that you can't get anywhere else. And it is a fantastic. See, look, they're always painting cool murals. Look at that Browning and stuff. That's so badass. A fox. Yep. I mean, they're always changing it up. These guys are on Instagram too, so they do have an Instagram page. I believe it's just Gallinson's Gun Shop or Gun Store. And yeah, like every time I go into Salt Lake, I make a stop at that place. It's just really neat.
This here is the thing, right? The main Mormon thing. Like right there. It's like right in the middle of all of the main downtown.
Yep.
Salt Lake.
And that just has a really good atmosphere. And there's always some like ladies up front that will always talk to you and greet you when you walk in and greet you when you leave. And then there's some guys there that just really, really know their stuff. A lot of ex-law enforcement and military work there, and then and know everything there is to know about silencers. Like don't try and like just push you on one brand because they sell all the brands. So they'll give you some pretty honest, recommendations and the stuff that they've actually used for years and years, and like they know their stuff. So I really enjoy going there and talking to those guys. They're spot on. And like the guy who works over at the reloading counter, like because they have this like reloading section, I guess you could say. And then the guy who works over there, he knows all his stuff about reloading. You can be like, oh, a 30-30, 150 grain bullet. He's like, oh, you want this powder, this? I mean, because that's what that guy's into is reloading. So I mean, like it's really neat how it works there. Like they really are kind of specialists in every little area. Whereas, like, if I go to Cabela's or something, like, the guy who's showing me scopes, like, he might not know anything about scopes. It's not like that at Gallinson's. Like, there's, like, everyone there knows their stuff in the area they work in.
It looks like a super cool place.
Very much. All right, right on. So we tried to feature a gun shop every day, and that's definitely one of the good ones. So we'll move on to gun history. We missed one the other day. Today is, I guess, depending on where you live, the 7th or maybe the 8th, but we missed one on the 6th because of the weekend. So it was Maxim. He died on May 6th, 1927. So there's a couple of different Maxims. This one is Hudson Maxim. So he is the brother of the inventor of the machine gun, who's a time traveler, and he is the uncle of the inventor of the suppressor. So Maxim invents the machine gun, his son invents the suppressor, and his brother invents smokeless powder. And that's who we're talking about today. Hudson, the inventor of smokeless powder in the United States, because I guess some other jerk invented it in England. We missed Hudson Maxims died on May 6, 1927. He only had one hand because he blew his hand off making and inventing smokeless gunpowder. He had a hand made out of wood.
Well, what a family, right? Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
All those people developed tons of stuff.
And time travelers.
Time travelers, yeah. So
today's May 8th, depending on where you are. It may be May 7th, like it is for me. But on May 8th, 1794, what do you think happened? Does anybody remember what happened?
1784?
1794.
Oh.
1794. My van remembers, if that's a hint.
Oh, is this Pony Express or something?
No.
Oh, then I don't know.
There's some lag, but nobody out on either side remembers that this day in 1794 is the day that the post office was established. We had 1846, the first major battle of the Mexican War was fought in Palo Alto, Texas. Today in 1862, Stonewall Jackson repels the Federals at the Battle of McDowell in the Shenandoah Valley. I just wanted to say Shenandoah, so I said that one.
Shenandoah.
What happened today in 1886? Atlanta pharmacist, some guy invents Coca-Cola.
Oh, damn.
86. So today might be a good day to go get some Chinese Coke. Or no, wait, some Mexican Coke.
Mexican Coke, yeah.
Because I'm saying Chinese because in 1895, China secedes Taiwan to Japan. Okay, it's first transatlantic flight by a Navy seaplane.
What year was that?
1919. Okay, this one's important to HVS. He made a big point about this one. He did a show about it. 1942, Battle of the Coral Sea between the Japanese Navy and the U.S. Navy ended. So, Battle of the Coral Sea ended today.
Oh, did you see that you got a commendation on your pronunciation of Shenandoah?
Oh yeah,
from a native.
What?
Well, congratulations.
Alright, confused, so I'm going back to my list here.
I think
you're roboting a little bit, G.
Oh,
and I posted two more important things that happened on May 7th. I don't know if you covered those, but I think that those are probably the two of the most important things.
All right, so the May 7th would be 1945, World War II, unconditional German surrender to the Allies, signed by General Alfred Jodl at the Reims. 1952, the concept of the integrated circuit, the basis for all modern computers, is first established by Jeffrey Dummer.
Yeah, so basically the computer circuit and the World War II surrender from Germany, like I think that's very two important events that happened on this day.
Yeah, those are definitely some heavy hitters as far as historical events for the day. So got those in. Did you see anything else? Anything worth mentioning?
There was something about Joan of Arc on this day back in the 1400s. Broke won a battle in France, like some siege in France. She went and won the battle. So on this day,
Joan of Arc stuff.
Yeah, like I don't really know much about her. I think I saw a movie about her once. Right, I know that she thought that she talked to God, and I saw a documentary later on that said that she probably suffered from some disease like bipolar or schizophrenia or something.
Oh,
so that's what they had like some pretty good evidence thinking that she like was a schizophrenic or so. But hey, she went and kicked ass in one battle, so whatever. I mean, I'm okay with that, right?
Well, she made it work, I guess.
She rallied a whole nation. I mean, if it wasn't for that, France would be speaking what, like English?
German?
Wait, they are speaking English.
Yeah, they do speak English. Well, just goes to show you, right? So yeah, that's the history for the day. So
am I back?
You're back now.
Did you get VE Day in there?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then did you get
the integrated concept of the integrated circuit, the basis of all computers? We got that in there too.
Really? There is one other one I was going to go back, and we missed it on Friday, I think, but LA riots ended on the 4th, and I was hoping to hit both sides of that one because it ended up being a few days. So let's not forget the significance of that when the antis are going to.
I saw something about the anniversary of the Chicago riots. Was that yesterday, or I saw something on social media about that? I don't know much about those riots.
I don't know about the Chicago riots either.
LA riots were the best riots. They're the winners.
8 Chicago riots sparked by the assassination of Martin Luther King, April 4th, 1968.
No, I don't know. Not unless they were just reposting something out of the blue. But I saw some posts the other day about the.
There were Chicago riots in 1968. They were April 5th or April 7th, sparked by his assassination on the 4th.
May 4th. I don't.
But again, the LA riots from '92 just did end. You know, the 6 days of that did end just over the weekend there. And again, when the antis are going to suggest that there's no reason to own an AR-15, I think that's a valid discussion to have with them as far as the people in Chinatown, or was it Koreatown, that were literally the next in line, and they repelled angry mob, a bunch of people who don't have the rational thought that an individual would. They're instead, acting under the blind rage of a mob, and that was able to be repelled. And actually, it squelched the violence once they found a place to stop their, their rampage, I guess. Then it died down. So I think AR-15s in the hands of private individuals are responsible for even probably a bunch of life and property back then, and that's in all of our lifetimes. And anyway, it's one of the reasons we do the show, is to focus on some of those events in history that you're not going to get on mainstream media. And again, I appreciate the people that are supporting us over on the Patreon and over on gun channels, and just in general, gear websites, our store, which allow us to spend time to go in and do those kind of things. Literally got to drive around. Thanks to Angelina for reminding me about that whole piece of history when I was there. So I got to take some pictures, and as we get more time to work on the results of that trip, I'll be putting together some video and stuff, and hopefully collaborating with other people who have better skills at putting together video. And we'll use the clips and the pictures to get some effective narration about this whole concept. So when someone does come to us and say, why would you need an AR-15? Why does a civilian need an AR-15? Again, we can have an actual discussion about that. All right, so anyway, that's today in history, and I think that about wraps it up. We like to talk about a movie every day. We did Last Man Standing. We talk about a gun shop, and today's shop was Gallon. How do you say it?
Gallinsons.
And it's a really cool shop in Salt Lake City. If you ever get the chance to get to that area, don't miss that shop. Don't miss the Browning Museum there as well. We have a member that we feature every day. Today it was Smeggy, even though he didn't show up for the show. And we talked a lot about behind the scenes from all different angles. And then we looked at the calendar. So the rest of the week, we'll be digging into Second Amendment Tuesday. And Wednesday, we talk about entertainment. Thursdays, we talk about training. And Fridays, we talk about the industry. We'll be incorporating some other things. I'm thinking of incorporating who wins that war off of Instagram into the show, as well as.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot, because I really enjoy those.
I got a whole bunch of new ones, and I've done some kind of like food ones in a row, and I did some Star Trek ones in a row. So I'm going to try to do a better job of like shuffling, so that it's not so much like series or themes, so that there's more kind of random stuff. Anyway, so we're going to incorporate that, and I really want to start doing the tactical quiz. So we've got more and more people over on gun channels doing different kind of efforts. So I'm hoping we can put everybody's heads together and come up with some fun things to do with tactical quiz. So look forward to all that. I'm thinking iTunes will give us a shot in the arm. Hopefully we'll see more people showing up for after the fact and more people participating with emails and stuff. And stay tuned in the mornings for early watch. I guess we can start talking about the other things you can do over on gun channels to check out the gun conversations. So in the mornings, we've been doing early watch with Tony and Jimmy when he gets back, where we talk about the news. You have the Early Watch Nation over there putting forth effort to get information out from the 50 states up to one spot that you can check out every morning. After that, Knives usually runs some sort of a live lobby, a room like this one that anyone can jump into and have a conversation about guns. Sometimes people are at work, sometimes people are driving around, sometimes we're working on our computers or something, or some guys are just sitting there playing video games and we all have the thing on. We're all being part of that conversation. People will jump in and ask a question about something they're about to buy or something they saw on a TV show, and the conversation just kind of goes all over the place. Once you get to the mid-afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're in, you start seeing some primetime shows. We have a schedule over on Gun Channels at the top right-hand corner of the screen, no matter what page you're on, and you'll get to the live schedule. Tomorrow is Tuesday, so you'll hear or you'll see Outlaw as his show early. Andalusia Armory's on break, so that means Tactical Tuesday with Ghost will be the next show, followed by Night Strike and Smeggy with some kind of show that happens sometime on Tuesday, and then Big Gunner does the his show to kind of warm everybody up for this show. We'll be back here at the same time. Night Strike, you got any shows coming up this week, Night Strike?
Night Strike's Tuesday night, 9 o'clock, hit or miss.
Looking at Night Strike, I should have said, do you have any shows coming up? Dead Horse. Sorry about that.
Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, show and tell. And I just want to throw out to anyone out there, too, who's thinking about coming over to gun channel, stuff like that, especially some of the older guys who might be kind of computer illiterate. We've got it down enough now. There's a lot of guys here who will take the time and help walk you through how to set up your own channel on YouTube, how to stream live. So if someone doesn't have a show or a show topic or something that you want to talk about, we'll show you how to make your own show. And then you can have your own lobbies and your own shows and your own topics. And there's plenty of room for, people to come do that. And we'll help you. We'll show you how.
For sure. Looks like Potatoes has a room open after this one. So anybody that wants to jump in and be part of a conversation or just watch, head over to Gun Channel's main page right after Slim's video there. There's a link to the Tater Tube. And that's a live show happening. Angelina, you're heading out on the road. You've got patches dropping.
I'm heading out on the road. All the patches are dropped and they're available. And they're shipping immediately.
I was going to say, if you were to buy a patch right now, it wouldn't ship until you got back in like a month. Or am I incorrect?
You are incorrect. So if you bought a patch right now, it would be packed and shipped probably tomorrow. Because through the magic of employing others, I'll have someone ship in while I'm gone. So fear not, you can buy patches and stickers and flags and stuff, and they'll ship within 1 to 2 business days, per usual.
Pretty cool. So have a good trip and drive safely, and hopefully you'll, like say, be checking in from the luxurious hotels you'll be staying at along the way.
Yep, definitely.
In between fabulous parties and events.
Fabulous parties, events, and Cracker Barrels, I guess.
Cracker Barrels like the actual restaurant, or Cracker Barrels like the authentic get-togethers in the outskirts of rural areas?
The restaurant, I guess. That'll bring me back down to earth.
Right on. Well, I don't know if my thing is just not connected or if just nobody's saying nothing on the YouTube side, but I do see that Potatoes has a link out there, and he has a live show. He's already got some people in there, and Dead Horse threw up a link to the Chicago riots over here on the Gun Channel side. So with that, I think does anybody have a quote?
The only quote I have is buy things from AlanAnchor.com. That's from Pants.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.